week, we close out Mucho Ralph Macchio Marathon with a role that, like it or not, would define Ralph Macchio's entire career. Is it Welcome Home or Get Off My Lawn? Welcome to Half-Ass Movie Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Half-Ass Movie Podcast, a show where we put together a half-ass theme as an excuse to watch movies. My name is Adam Portress, and joining me today, he's just a washed-up pizza man, Sweet Sean Zakovacs from the internet.
Why is my wigdar going off? Oh, wait, I know why.
And Stuffed Crust was his nickname in high school, Bruce Leslie.
You know who you cast when you can't cast Michelle Yeoh?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And he's going Ming-Na Wen for sure. And he's going to roundhouse kick your face with a smile on his. Welcome to the show for, I think, the second time, Silas.
Hey.
Well, we have
walking in.
We got another fourth chair here with a youngin who might have a little bit of insight on this here Karate Kid movie. Welcome back to HMP as we conclude our Mucho Ralph Macchio marathon here with his most iconic role of Daniel LaRusso, the Karate Kid Legends. Listen, this is ultimately why I kind of wanted to do this movie. I've gotten a little bit of crap on this throughout this entire Mucho May.
Oh, you have you? That's weird.
Yeah, it's some people are doing it. Huh. But we did not do any of the actual Karate Kid movies for Ralph Macchio and everything. We strictly stuck to his non-Karate Kid roles to really find out, I think, at the end of the day, is the Karate Kid the thing that kind of defines this guy? We'll talk about that and a whole lot more, and other legends, as it were, because this movie itself takes place with a lot of Jackie Chan in it, another member of the HMP Volume 2 clan here in our Jackie January and everything. So I saw it as a worlds colliding kind of thing, and again, as I have previously stated, that I think once we finish this one out here and everything, we don't have to worry about going back to any Ralph Macchio. Not Gene Hackman. We can go back to Gene Hackman movies. There's more of those to be had. There's more. There's even more Jackie Chan movies to be had, and maybe Ryan Reynolds. But for sure, we're done with Ralph Macchio at this point. Sean, is that at least acceptable that we've got that on the table? That this is it. We're done.
I'm so happy right now. If I were capable of expressing human emotion, I'd be weeping with joy.
It's lovely. I mean, we can only get them there once a year, and it's nice that we're doing it at least with this one so far early in the year too. That's a very nice thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, welcome back, Bruce. You're on the road here and everything. Have you been having fun?
I guess.
Really selling it. It's a hell of a life. It's
host of the year, everybody.
What a lifetime you're. What a great life you're having over here, Silas. Is it as fun as your dad's claiming for us here and everything, or more?
I guess.
There's only one way that was going to go, Portress. That's true.
That's very much true. I'll say this: when Mom brings out the casserole, y'all better have a better response. And yeah, it's all right, I suppose. So just to give you a little quick warning on that.
We spent Memorial Day weekend hitting up the Filipino festival, right?
Ah.
Yeah.
So you had good food then.
Oh, yeah, it was good.
Heck yeah. But yeah, before we get into all of our Karate Kid legends here and everything, do us a giant favor and head on over to our YouTube page there this week, everybody. I got a couple videos that I'm working on, but we're also going to be doing some live streaming stuff. I did a little test the other night here. And we're going to be doing some more of that. So keep a look out for all of that and stuff. I'll probably do it a little bit in the evenings here and everything, and maybe at a couple of different times because this sounds like we're bragging here, but we have listeners all over the world, gentlemen. We really do. Mm-hmm. And many of them be like, hey, man, I'll be sleeping when that happens. I'm like, all right, we'll try a couple of other different times and stuff like that as well. But we'll be talking movies and some other things like that. So we encourage you to come on and hang out there. And of course, as always, patreon.com/HMP, pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. Dinger Zone, this week we cover our top 5 dad movies, movies that dads enjoy or a dad might enjoy. And so check that out over there on the Patreon. And actually, I think I'm going to put a video version of that up on the YouTubes as well. So go check all that out, everybody. Patreon.com/HMP and all that kind of good stuff. And at the end of those videos, because we're at a new month here and everything, anyone who is supporting at the $1 and up level on the Patreon, get your name on the credits there at the end of it. So, you can walk around and when your mom's like, hey man, what are you doing with your life? You're not accomplishing anything. You can show them the end of this video and your name is on there with all the other dirty babies. And you'll say, hey, I've accomplished something in my life. You get out of my face, mom. And then you just give her a big old raspberry and move on with your day,
And then she'll be like, why does that man look like the teacher on Stranger Things season 1?
The science teacher, man. I didn't even make that connection. You spot on with that, Sean.
Or, of course, just drop us an email at halfassmoviepod@gmail.com. We really appreciate it. Love you so much. All right, gentlemen, let's get into it. Here's the IMDb plotline for Karate Kid Legends. As we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. After a kung fu prodigy, Li Fong relocates to New York City, he attracts unwanted attention from a local karate champion and embarks on a journey to enter the ultimate karate competition with the help of Mr. Han and Daniel LaRusso. This is written by Rob Lieber, who wrote Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. Surprisingly decent movie, I say. The live-action Peter Rabbit with James Corden is Peter Rabbit, and since it has James Corden in it, that's right, pure trash. Not even Domhnall Gleeson and Rose Byrne could save that one. And he also wrote Goosebumps 2, the movie that had the utter balls to say, nah, we don't need Jack Black for this movie. Then they tested the movie and everybody said, hey, what the hell happened to Jack Black? So then they shot some Jack Black stuff just to satisfy some people, but it's already too late. This is directed by Jonathan Entwistle, who directed the Netflix series The End of the Effing World, and I'm not okay with this. And as far as my research has told me, he is not related to Who bass player John Entwistle, just so you know. Starring Jackie Chan, Ben Wang, Joshua Jackson, Sadie Stanley, Ming-Na Wen, and this month's feature, Ralph Macchio. All right, so let's talk before we get into anything, just our basic kind of thoughts and ideas of the original Karate Kid movies, and I would even maybe go so far as to say if you have any experience with the Cobra Kai there as well.
Well, I'll just say that the original Karate Kid, I think I'm speaking for my whole generation, it's one of those keystone movies. There are very few that I think even stack up to Karate Kid as far as Karate Kid's right there for me with Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's one of those core childhood film memories. Goonies, Karate Kid, It's there. Karate Kid surpasses the Rocky franchise, I think, for those of us that were younger at the time both of them came out.
Someone of the newer generation, I think Karate Kid still stands pretty well, except for all the white people. Yeah, that's all I got.
California didn't have black people back then. We know that for a fact.
Do you remember, Silas, when I used to kept telling you that I was going to sign you up for the All Valley Championship?
Yes, I remember that.
You never would let me.
For me, the Karate Kid is one of those weird '80s movies. I mean, I'm Gen X. I love Karate Kid, but it is one of those weird '80s movies where it's kind of not like the other '80s movies to me. Like if you're watching, let's say, The Goonies, or you're watching Indiana Jones, even the Star Wars sequels, like those movies are just good whenever. Back to the Future is another one where they just span the ages. Like eventually it will look like the oldest movie in the world, but they don't yet. But Karate Kid has this weird thing to it where it is the most 80s movie that's ever 80s, where I think that Back to the Future is more thought of as the most 80s movie ever, but really it's the Karate Kid, because the way people are speaking, the way that the high school dynamic plays out in that movie, the way that problems are solved in that movie, it's all 80s-y. Everything feels very 80s-y about that movie, and it makes it a bit of a time capsule, and that's great. Like it's great for that. It's still a really fun movie. I still think that the younger, 10 years, 15 years younger than us watch that movie and are like, hey, I like this movie. Like it might not be their favorite, but it's a movie that you'd like. And it's Rocky for babies. So like, of course you're going to really like this movie if you're a little kid. Like, oh, hey, I can beat up the kid at school. Yeah. Like,
I mean, John Addleston, the original director of Rocky, was the director of Karate Kid. So it's like they are hand in hand.
Right.
And that theme song just feels like the 80s, that Best Around song. I mean, oh my gosh, I can't hear that and be unhappy. That and that Frank Stallone song, Far From Over. Those two both really get me going.
Pretty cool for that.
Yeah, they were just kind of super iconic and everything for their time and stuff. And like you said, holds up quite well. And again, I think it's one of those that, like, because it was the time that it was and everything, it will kind of stay almost timeless for quite some time. Because, like, even as, you know, generic as the movie that we're reviewing today is and everything, you're going to see just like cell phones and other things, and it's just going to quickly date the movie faster than anything that you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
So it's like it's one of the unfortunate things of our modern movie landscape and everything, that it's just like, no, we can't quite do that like we used to, at least.
They also kind of make it seem like a road trip from New Jersey to Southern California is like a day.
Yes, there is that too. Also, very clearly, the makers of Karate Kid Legends not only have seen Karate Kid, but also have seen Into the Spider-Verse. Like the transitionals, the flavor of what New York feels like, it is the same.
Now, can I say this? I think that's it. I believe this to be true. That feels like a Sony thing.
Oh, really?
It does. It 100% feels Sony.
Be, but either way, I think that you could pick much worse movies to try to emulate than Into the Spider-Verse. And as far as it being a Sony thing, I guess anything Spider-Man related, Sony's going to try to ride the horse that brought him, as it were. But they do call Lee Fong an Asian Peter Parker at one point.
Yes, they do. They do. And actually, that's the moment where I was like, oh, so they're doing this on purpose. Because originally I was like, oh, they're under the gun, kind of like this movie is clearly seen Into the Spider-Verse. It's the same. Like, it feels the same. And then they called out Peter Parker. It was like, oh, they know this, and they're calling it out.
I'd also say the female lead in this movie wouldn't be a bad Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, I mean, like I thought she was pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know when we want to start getting into the nuts and bolts of it, but just as far as the cast in general, I kind of like this cast.
Yeah, the lead male, he was pretty good. I saw him in American Born Chinese. I read the books for that too, and it's a pretty good show, especially if you love that like kung fu type fighting, that action. It's an amazing show to watch.
And I don't know if I'm wrong here or whatever. I'll see what you think about it, Adam, but like the kid's haircut, his facial expressions, a lot of it was spot on for Hong Kong cinema too, back in its heyday, the stuff that people like me and you used to watch, Adam.
I love this kid. And before the movie was starting, while the trailers and stuff were going on, I was thinking about Jackie Chan and stuff. And Jackie is like 71 years old now. So Jackie's as old as my parents are, which is hilarious to think about my dad doing stunts. But he's getting on in age and everything. And I was thinking, I'm like, when have we had kind of like, our Jackie replacement, if you will, who's kind of stepped in? Like, for a hot second, we all thought like Tony Jaa was going to kind of be that guy, because just doing his own stunts and everything. Not nearly as charismatic as Jackie, but even it took Jackie a while to kind of get, set in his charismatic ways and everything. But like, I was always just kind of wondering, like, who's going to take this mantle on? And I'm watching this kid, and I'm going, this kid could do it. If they decided to, put him in the right vehicles and everything, I think this kid's got a little something special on him. I think that he's a great little actor. I believe everything in there. And he had what again made like young Jackie Chan interesting. He's a good looking kid, but he's not so good looking that, you would think that he's some Hollywood kid or something like that. He looks like a normal guy would look. He's a little undersized, so he's like kind of the perfect little secret weapon there and everything. And this kid's charming. He's a charming little guy, and you can understand why this girl would kind of fall for this kid, because he's got a little bit of charisma despite being the kind of little dorky kid.
What'd you think about his kung fu, Adam? I mean, you can't be the next Jackie Chan if you got to fake your kung fu.
I thought it was good. And as far as martial arts goes in this movie is fine. I think the problem is that, and we'll get into more specifics, but like, I just don't think it was shot very well.
Oh man, especially that alleyway. The alleyway where he's basically mimicking a lot of Jackie Chan jokes, action jokes. It's like, why are you cutting away from this? You're not giving the audience enough time to appreciate what just happened. It was making me insane.
So Silas, go ahead and tell him what you said. I mean, right after that scene, we're in the theater. He commented on it.
That scene was probably the worst action scene I've ever seen in my life. There was way too many cuts. You could hardly even see what was going on. Like, I felt like every time I tried to get a focus on what the characters were doing, they cut and I started looking at a brick wall.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure Silas hasn't seen the Bourne movies. Have you seen the Bourne movies?
No.
So you don't know where that kind of editing in a fight scene comes from.
And the funny thing is that, you know, all of these people, generally when you cut like that in your movie, it's because it's because you're in a Liam Neeson movie and Liam Neeson is an old man pretending that he's running down a street. Like that's why you cut like that. These people can all do it. Like, why are you cutting? It makes no sense.
Exactly.
Not only are you killing the action, you're killing jokes. What are you doing?
It was that scene that had me worried that maybe the star of this movie doesn't have the martial arts choreography down. That's what I was worried about.
He clearly does.
Yes, later you see that he does. So I think maybe either the director or one of the editors, they've just never cut a scene like this. Maybe some of the stuntmen that were getting beat up, maybe there were some things that they didn't get enough takes of or something, but it really feels like they're hiding something, but I don't think it's the skill they're hiding. Maybe it's Joshua Jackson they were trying to hide.
I think it was just like filmed on a back lot at a really weird angle so that they didn't want to show the crew and stuff.
There's definitely a lot of just kind of back alley shots and stuff, and our final thing that's supposed to be a rooftop and open and everything is clearly not.
Don't even get me started on that. We'll get into that later. I promise you.
But yeah, it just and ultimately, and this is one of my, and like I'll mild recommend the film just to give you a quick thing, but like, because I'll definitely pull apart the things that I certainly don't like, and the way this movie is shot is a big part of it. Is not only just the fight scenes and stuff, but it looks kind of cheap and chintzy in a lot of ways, and it shouldn't. It should look pretty decent. But there's moments that are fine, but ultimately it's just kind of like, oh, it feels like you guys really put this together for a nickel.
There is something about the lead, though, about this Karate Kid, where he is the cutest boy in the world. It's almost like he's like biologically been engineered in a lab, where you're like, this, we have found the cutest boy. Here he is, and he happens to know karate, and he can also speak Chinese fluently and English fluently without an accent, by the way.
Yeah, it's real good.
And he is and he's just adorable. He's the most adorable one of them all. And that's all of that is great. Like, I don't hate this kid. I think the kid is pretty good. Like, it's not like it usually is with Karate Kid movies for me, where I'm like, come on, man. Like Jaden Smith in that one Karate Kid movie where you're just like, come on, dude.
I couldn't bring myself to watch that one.
It's not good. Adam likes it. Adam, last week you said it's better than you thought it would be.
Well, yeah, because I thought it would be absolute trash, but it's just trash. it's not good. That movie's not great, but like the reason that movie succeeds on any level is Jackie Chan, and that was like one of his kind of last ones where he was like really, moving and shaking there and everything.
Yep.
And I'll be honest, this one, there's, and I could be wrong, and it may just be the crappy way that it was shot, as we were talking about, but I don't know that Jackie Chan did his stunts in this movie, and if he did,
I don't think he did either.
They did a bad job of showing us if and he did, which I don't think he did though.
I mean, the guy probably has 2 fake hips, 2 fake knees
at
this point.
I'm not saying nothing against it or anything, but it was apparently obvious.
He ain't going to be dangling from no hovercrafts in this movie.
But again, I don't like, and I kind of said it before, and I'll reiterate it again on this episode, is that like I feel like we are at that perfect level for time in here and everything for Jackie Chan to become that uncle character. We just call, instead of Uncle Billy, we call him Uncle Jackie. He comes in, he's his side thing. He's got still has the ability to do a couple of stunts and stuff, but if there's something complicated, we'll dub in somebody else. That's no big whoop. But like to have that, like. And that's one of the problems that I've had with not only this movie, but the other Karate Kid movie is Jackie's not funny. He's not really all that funny. He doesn't have enough funny things. And that is one of the best parts of Jackie Chan is his lightheartedness, is his playfulness. And that is not apparent in this role in either, that last Karate Kid film or this one. And I think that's a shame.
He is in this role.
Yes.
He's the what? One more time. I'm sorry. We roboted out for half a second.
He's probably better than Pat Morita. Probably a better old wise sensei than Pat Morita was, but because we have so much emotional connection to that, unlike Pat Morita, this guy actually knows some martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this role is great. And for him to try to do more stuff along the lines of, I'm the old guy who's going to help this young kid out because I'm all alone, and he's helping me as much as I'm helping him, just in a different way. I think he's great for that.
I also, I'm going to buckle against something that you said earlier, Adam, where there are a few scenes where Jackie is legitimately funny. There's that whole scene where they're eating dinner and the mom asks the main character a question, and Jackie knows it's about to be a fight, and so he starts eating really fast.
Oh, yeah.
That's a very funny scene.
Yeah, we need it. We need a little bit more like that, though. That's what I'm saying. Just sprinkle a little bit more of that in there, because it is that just Jackie flavor, and I feel like this movie could have used a little more lightheartedness from time to time.
Agreed.
I like how they gave us a little lore to explain why this franchise has went from karate to kung fu, other than the obvious that kung fu just looks better on the screen.
Right.
But I don't know. Did you like that, Adam? Because I think you're like me when that last Karate Kid come out. You're one of the people that said, well, why don't they call it the Kung Fu Kid? Because that's not karate.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense. Other than, it was such a throwaway, just like, hey, shut up. You're like, all right.
Well, they even knew it then. I mean, they even knew it in the Karate Kid. They're like, this is more Kung Fu than it is karate, but Karate Kid sounds a whole lot better than Kung Fu Kid.
And it sells, and it's a name that people already know. So why are we going to, crap on a bad name or a good name?
Warner Brothers gets a small check every time they make another movie for that Legion of Superheroes character, Karate Kid.
Yeah.
So, but I do like that they explained it. They kind of, 2 branches, 1 tree, and they show a picture of a tree with 5 branches on it. That bothered me a little bit.
Yeah, that was
same. It's just which particular branch are we talking about here? Because that one actually goes off into 2 or 3.
Yeah, but I do like it, the connection between the Miyagis and the Hans. I think they needed that explanation for a guy like me, and I'm glad that they gave it to me.
Sure.
It was a cool way that they showed it with the kind of animation and everything. That was kind of neat, and at least a little bit better than them just, sitting characters in front of the screen and yapping at you, I guess.
Or saying, don't worry about it.
And, since the original Karate Kid came out, we now have things like MMA, multiple MMA leagues, and people have seen mixed martial arts where nobody really thinks much about karate or kung fu much these days anyway.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a lot easier to blend now than it would have been in the past. And even incorporating the boxing into it, I think was a nice touch to bring in the people who grew up familiar with a combination of grappling and striking and the stuff that they watch on their TV shows, the Conor McGregors and such.
Yeah.
But it also adds a nice little new twist in it, in as much as the student is also the teacher at the exact same time and stuff
I thought that was a really nice touch.
I love that part.
And I do have to say, the most surprising in a good way thing about this movie is Joshua Jackson in this movie. Joshua Jackson is great in this.
Yes, I'm glad that you agreed, because I thought this was going to be one of those weird things where Bruce just likes an odd performance. But Joshua Jackson, the kid from Dawson's Creek, I have no, that does not get me to buy a ticket if I hear Joshua Jackson's in something. But his performance was so perfect in this. The tone was just right. One of my favorite actors out there for things like this would be Michael Shannon. I think he did it just as good as Michael Shannon would. Michael Shannon would have been a lot weirder.
Yeah, there would have also been a whole lot of is that guy a serial killer? Is her dad a serial killer?
Is he abusing her in some way? Because you'd think at least there's somebody's getting hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, was he Pacey? I can't remember who he was on Dawson's.
Yes.
But
can
boy,
confirm,
he has come a long way. And I totally bought him as Howlin' Howland, what was Matt Murdock's dad's name? The guy that was the boxer?
Oh,
Batlin
Murdoch, something like that.
Batlin Matt Murdock, or
Batlin Frank Murdoch or something like that.
Batlin Murdoch.
He really kind of felt like, oh my goodness, this feels like Daredevil's dad out there going into this last fight. You know, he's almost our age, Sean, and he's out there boxing with the 22-year-old. I loved everything about it.
The thing that really, like, I mean, because this movie is so very formulaic, as all the Karate Kid movies are, but like the second that the kid starts teaching him how to be faster using a little bit of karate with his boxing, I was like, oh, this guy ain't gonna make it out clean. He ain't making it out of this boxing match clean, that's for sure. and of course, I was right, and they're gonna use him as basically like the linchpin for, well, now I have to fight. Like, of course.
Yeah.
That is exactly what this movie is. Literally the second he starts teaching him, I was like, oh, that's the way this is going.
What'd you think of our villains here, the Irish kung fu fighters?
Okay, so this is my biggest problem with the movie, is the bad guy. First of all, if you want to have your big bad guy, or the kid who's going to be fighting Li Fong, Connor is his name. If you're going to have Connor as the bad kid, maybe, look, you make the movies the way you want to. It's not my movie. Maybe you don't cast a gay kid to be your main villain. Because that kid is very, very gay. And so, look, he's great. Like he's great when it comes to certain things, but there's other things where you're like, well, you should probably have been in a musical, not this.
Now, what I'm about to say will sound like an insult because it is. Mm-hmm. That is a Power Ranger. Like, he should be a Power Ranger.
Yes, true. Perfect. He'd be a great Power Ranger. He should not be the baddest kid in all of New York. And here's another thing. Here's another thing that makes me very angry, is that when you are very good at something, and he is supposed to be the best at this tournament thing that goes around the 5 boroughs. They say the 5 boroughs 100 times.
Hey, the 5 boroughs, and it's like you could almost hear like a cash register in the background, like to get paid for saying that or something. Like it's a partnership. It's like every time you mention it, you get $30,000.
So when you are very good at something like this, like the Connor character is, right? You are not only exceptional at the thing, you are exceptional also at the rules of the thing. And he flaunts how much he hates the rules. And that is not what the main number one guy of anything thinks of the rules in his chosen sport.
Yeah, that's the DNA of this franchise, though, with Kreese. I mean, no mercy.
None of that matters, man. Like,
yeah.
Like, this kid grew up doing this. He's going to care about those rules way more than some Asian kid who just showed up. Like, the Asian kid who showed up is going to be a little loosey-goosey with the rules and see what he can bend and break. That dude ain't. That dude has been here since he was 3.
And the real villain of the movie needed to be the sensei, so that eventually that kid could realize his sensei was wrong, and they missed that. If you're going to repeat stuff, repeat the good stuff.
I think they looked at that sensei and they were like, he's boring, and that's why. Because that guy didn't have more than 5 lines of dialogue, and he just looked like an Eric Roberts stand-in.
Sir, he looked like Razor Ruddock.
Well, you're not wrong, actually. He
literally looks like his younger brother or something.
Were they trying to say this was in Hell's Kitchen, but they didn't want to use the word hell? I mean, why is that an almost all Irish kung fu dojo? Because O'Shea is the sensei, and then Connor is the best fighter.
I don't know, man.
It should be a boxing gym. I know my stereotypes.
Absolutely.
Irish people box.
Absolutely.
Listen, you can't have him beating up anybody that's just not white.
Also, to stick with the Connor theme here, did anyone else laugh out loud when you see your first poster for the 5 boroughs tournament and it's Connor on the front?
I had to hold back.
Why are they putting him there? That doesn't make any sense.
I was laughing so hard. Like, why is it only like a close up of his face? It looks like it's his headshot.
Now, are either of you familiar with the actress who played Mia, the female lead?
No.
She was a regular on about 3-4 seasons of The Goldbergs, a sitcom that, of course, I watch extensively. And I really like her there, where her character's name was Bria, so she went from Bria to Mia. Big leap there.
What if she's like only half a step away from having that Tony Danza disease where she can't?
Yes.
Well, her real name does not have an Ia in it at all. I think I don't remember her
Sadie.
name. Yes, Sadie is definitely not a Mia. But
all of her characters got to be off the IAs.
I mean, I thought she was sitcom good, but in this movie, I think she's teen movie good. I was really impressed with her performance, and I think some of her appeal, and I might be making a really big leap here, but I feel this way. She puts me to mind a little bit of a young Jennifer Lawrence, like the facial features.
I felt that too. Yeah. I was like, this girl feels like a kind of has that young Jennifer Lawrence vibe. You are not off in that feeling. And these two, they've got good chemistry together. You feel like they could have met in the situation that they put him in and stuff like that, and they would have gotten along. It feels totally natural.
I do want to say, as dumb as this screenplay for this movie is, and it is dog dick dumb, I think that I want to congratulate the screenwriters on when that moped breaks down. I was 100% certain they were going to get off the moped and then she was going to pop it open and fix it right there to show you that, like, look, she knows how to handle herself. I was totally expecting it. And when it didn't happen, this movie went up a notch.
I thought it was just going to be she ran out of gas because she didn't account for the extra weight on it. That's what I thought they were going to do. So I'm glad they didn't do that.
I just thought they stopped at the location they needed to be at. And I was like, that's the middle of the street.
Well, movie logic
elixir?
said yes.
Yeah.
I do love taking the scooter on the subway. Something felt very real about it.
That was very cool. I agree.
Because there's buttholes everywhere that are doing shit that doesn't make any sense. And they're like, hey, let's put a bike on here. Like, why would you do this to inconvenience everyone? Like, well, it ran out of gas. And like, you can understand in the moment, but at the same time, too, you're judging that person. You're judging.
But
luckily for them, it wasn't jammed full of people because she would have gotten yelled at.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this is a movie that's not above what we call the Stan Lee effect. So the fact that her and her dad are both Italian, I expected them to be cousins of the LaRussos.
Oh, man, that is a very good point. Another good point that the screenplay, that was a conversation that was had. It's a very good job by the screenplay.
That would have made the kiss at the end way weirder.
This would have been the empire of Karate Kid movies.
Now, another thing, though, that they didn't do so well, they did fall for the Stan Lee effect, is in a city the size of New York, when he goes to the hospital, it just happens to be Lee Fong's mom.
That is very Stan Lee, yeah.
Yeah, no, that one was like...
Listen, the hospital is very under budget and stuff like that, so they can't hire too many people. She's got to work all the shifts. That it only makes nothing but sense. Come on.
I do have to say, one of the things about Karate Kid that I've never understood, and it's happened for all of the Karate Kid movies, is like, why in the Karate Kid universe are all of the tournaments so well attended? It's like bananas how many people are in those crowds for all of these fights.
This is worse one though. This is worse for this movie because this isn't just a day of tournaments. This is many days across a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And it's got a little Fast and Furious in it than when they say this is the only tournament that takes place in the streets. Yeah. And Silas did point out to me it's got a little Street Fighter going on in it, the way that the tournament goes and the graphics that they show, which I liked. Very video game.
Very video game. And one would say Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
And like the first match is the guy from Beijing against the clearly Indian guy, and I was like, yeah, it has a lot of Street Fighter to it.
Yep.
And at the same time, too, again, that Sean said it, and it is correct. Is like it's all so many martial arts movies are very formulaic and everything, and sometimes you want to hear the formula. And like for me, like the formula with this works well enough for what it is. I know where everything is going. I know how everything is working, but I just you kind of want to see how they play this version of the song and stuff. And it's not always a home run, but I said, I got many things to pick apart about this movie, but I did kind of, seeing all the classic beats and stuff.
And, they passed up a great opportunity. Sure, you might have to drop $1,500 to get to use the name, but they missed a great opportunity to say the Five Boroughs tournament is established by Bruce Leroy.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
Yeah, with Kiss My Converse.
That would have been amazing. Although I'm thinking that because there's so much other lore they have to get over on you as the viewer, they probably didn't want to go even further with it.
William Zabka, Johnny from the original movie, the real breakout star, in my opinion, of Cobra Kai. He's the person that really
he's the main character of the show.
I mean, he also to me showed I can still be interested in this guy. Not a lot of people who I know as the bad guy in an 80s movie as an adult do I really care about seeing him. I don't know. He was relegated to sort of a gimmick thing in the credits. I think if you're going to say Karate Kid's Legends, you go into the Spider-Verse and you bring him there.
Sir, you're not seeing the whole picture here. The reason why they're calling it Karate Kid's Legends and not The Last Karate Kid is because there is going to be another one of these if this is successful enough. And they're not going to have Ralph Macchio to do this one, this next one. He'll just be an executive producer on it. They will bring in Zabka to be one of the teachers and Jackie Chan to be the other one. That's the way that's going to go.
There was a point where I thought they were just going to nostalgia bomb us with cameos because in the boxing match, I got a real $1 Million Baby vibe.
Yeah.
And I wondered if the next Karate Kid, what is that? She's Rob Lowe's sister-in-law, or at least she was. What's her name?
Rob Lowe's sister-in-law. No. You're talking about Academy Award winner?
Yeah. I really don't remember her name. I'm not doing a bit.
I can't remember her name.
Good. Okay, so you believe me then when I say I'm not doing a bit.
Hillary Swank.
Yeah, you knew who I was talking about, though.
I
when
did,
I said
of course.
Rob Lowe's sister-in-law.
Yes, I did. Yes.
That's what she puts on her business cards.
So like I was going to be upset with this movie if Zabka didn't show up in it at all, because he is the first 2 seasons of Cobra Kai are really, really great television. Anything after that, don't bother. Doesn't matter.
Hey, Silas, do you know the kid that's in Cobra Kai from around town here?
No, I don't know him. I heard he's not exactly the best person in the world to be friends with.
Oh.
Yeah, we got a local actor who was one of the kids on Cobra Kai.
What do you mean, Hollywood kids, a little stuck up? Get out of town. That's a new one on me.
I don't know, Silas. Did you consider being in Cobra Kai or Karate Kid Legends at any point?
Mom offered to make me audition for Karate Kid Legends.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Would you have been auditioning for the role of Lee Fong?
Yeah. That's a little Filipino boy who's hardly even Filipino in the first place.
Yeah, I think we made the right call on that one.
Hey, listen, according to Hollywood legend, you're just about anything. What's
well, due to the 5 boroughs rules, they would have ended up picking you, but you would have been one of the kids that got your ass kicked in the tournament.
I think that would have been great.
And it would have had some stupid, they would have given you some stupid nickname like all the other.
They might have made you the Hispanic entry there.
Well, that's what's fun about the Dante Brasco, the guy that played Rufio and everything. He's like making some rounds and stuff, talking on podcasts and whatnot. And he was talking about how it took him forever to actually play an Asian character because he's a Filipino guy, but he was just he'd always played Latino and stuff, but the majority
Native
of his career
Americans,
and everything.
Yeah.
So Sean, here's a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Being that you and I are both the biggest Quigley Down Under fans on the show,
True.
Were you expecting some kind of Quigley Down Under ending where the mom had to fight?
No.
Would you cast Ming Na Wen? I mean, she's from The Mandalorian. She's from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She's from Mulan. She can do really good fight scenes. So
she can. But I think this is the thing with this movie is I think that they are on their back foot for some of it because I think that they want to make more of these. And,
Absolutely.
And I think that I can't, I'm not going to speak for you guys. I saw this movie yesterday with my daughter, and it was me, my daughter, and one other person in the movie theater on a Saturday afternoon watching this movie. So I don't know how successful this movie is. But
I
it's
saw it on
definitely-
a Thursday
got a lot of money
evening.
for product placement of Tekken 8. So
I
they
saw
might
it
just make
Thursday.
another one
It had
anyway.
we had at least 30 plus people in our theater on Thursday evening or Friday evening rather.
So,
yeah.
what were our product placements we spotted there, Silas? There was a blatant Pepsi one because no restaurant is proud of serving Pepsi. They're like, sorry, we only have Pepsi.
Yeah.
And then there was all the Tekken posters, and I feel like there was something else. that
Again,
kinda caught
Sony product.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Spider-Man reference since it's a Sony product.
Surely any cell phone for sure was a
And all the
Sony
laptops.
product. Oh yeah, laptops and any Bluetooth speaker that might be out. Those are all like anything that's there. But they didn't have as many egregious like Sony close-up shots, as they normally do in a lot of stuff. There's a shot of a Blu-ray player in Casino Royale that is so blatant, and it doesn't need to be there. It's like, why is there a Blu-ray player in this? Like room for surveillance and shit. There's no reason for it to be there. But it was like one of the OG early Blu-ray players. I'm like, why? Why is that there?
Have either of you seen the movie Above the Rim?
Yes.
Way back when, but yeah.
Were you expecting an above the rim moment when they were fighting on a rooftop where the guy, like, I don't know if he goes to dunk or something and flies off the roof and dies?
That'd have been amazing.
They're playing basketball on a rooftop. I really thought you put this thing on a rooftop because somebody's going to be like kicked off of it. They have to grab a ledge and they're barely hanging on, and then the enemy helps them back up or something.
I didn't understand. Like, there's a lot about this tournament and like the comings and goings that I don't get. Like, how does everybody know where all of the fights are in the five boroughs? How is it so well attended? If you're on that rooftop, like, how are you making money with all those people on? Because it's a $50,000 grand prize. That's not nothing.
Yeah.
And so, like where are you generating that money from? And also, like, if you are in the crowd, like, how do you go to the bathroom? Like, where are you getting something to eat?
Off the side.
And also,
I guess
there's something a little Batman-esque about the doctor's kid beating up all the inner city kids to get the $50,000 cash prize.
that is true. That is very true.
Now, granted, he's going to give that money away,
The one thing you can say about the gay villain in this movie is that he does not come from a very wealthy family.
And, if it was the original Karate Kid, you could say his mom was about to lose her house, lose her car, whatever. Like, she was struggling to make ends meet. So it makes sense for Daniel San to want to go get that 50 grand. But I think they should have just left the specific number of the prize out of it and just be a big old trophy at the end like it was with Karate Kid.
Yeah.
I took you out of your private school in Hong Kong and brought you here to America.
So in something that I
Imperfect
see
English.
as a combination of a nostalgia fest while trying to launch a new Disney teen era version of Karate Kid, I think that they should have brought back the crane kick because
Absolutely.
it's like a wrestler's finishing move. Nobody complains that Ric Flair won his last 27 matches in a row with the figure four leg lock. You bought your ticket to see him slap on that figure four leg lock. Like, you go see Dusty Rhodes wrestle, he better drop that elbow. And here, you got to bring in the crane kick. And I know that they've shied away from it. And I think this was the time when Daniel San finally shows up in New York to help train on that rooftop. A lot of rooftop stuff here, by the way. Training on the rooftop, fighting on the rooftop.
Yeah.
I think that was when they should have brought back the crane kick when he said, I tried the dragon kick, it didn't work. And then I think this is where the crane kick should have been brought back into it. I think you need like your Excalibur, you need your motif. And I think the crane kick is the great motif.
I've been listening to Macchio's book here about the Karate Kid and everything, and the funny part about like the crane kick and stuff, and it was a thing that was wholly made up for the movie, nothing out of actual martial arts, that move. But the funny thing is they're like, on the paper, it just read, amazing. You're kicking with the leg that you were standing on, but it's just, unfortunate part is no one could do it. No one, not a stunt man, nobody. They were trying forever and a day to try to make it look good, and it only really worked from like one angle that they were kind of going with and stuff. So I feel like ultimately it was something that they kind of wrote themselves into in a lot of ways and couldn't quite get out of it. So I think that they don't really want to hang on to that too much more, just because it's not a thing that you can actually execute. They were like, do we get wires? How do we handle all this sort of thing?
Well, they're using wires in this movie in that last fight.
Oh yeah, now they are, but
And-
in
and
1984 they weren't.
If you go onto YouTube, I mean, talk about something that influenced a generation. You can actually find a legitimate, I don't know if it's UFC or another organization, but there is a legitimate MMA bout that was ended with a knockout via crane kick. So go look for that sometime. But it's like never existed in martial arts. But when the movie came out, there were a bunch of kids who went to the local strip mall and started learning how to do it.
That's cool, man. I didn't realize that. It's almost like SSX, where they come out with that skateboarding video game, and you can do all this crazy stuff in it, and no one could actually do it in real life. And then cut to 10 years later, and people are doing it.
They're like, oh, I had this idea. What was like Tony Hawk in the 1080? It was like no one ever did it, or the 900, no one ever did it, and then all of a sudden it was like 14-year-olds are doing it.
Yep.
I think it's going to be a lot harder to learn this dragon kick, though.
yeah. Well, who has a
I've been
turnstile?
trying. Whew.
I love, though, that Jackie Chan kept paying for admission through the turnstile every time the kid did it. And then the metro worker was just there. How long are you going to be doing this? Because, our family visits New York frequently, and you don't mess around with those people. They start shouting and say, move, move.
That lady looked like she'd have been extra angry, too.
She's sassy,
I was
that one.
surprised at how clean the place looked.
It's true. And you can't, and like, the thing also is that you're all over New York in this movie, and not once am I like, oh, that place smells like urine.
Yeah, in real life, you slide under the turnstile like he successfully does what they're telling him to do, and he stands up to celebrate, and they get a shot from the back where there's like an old soiled condom and a needle, hypodermic needle sticking in his back, stuff like that.
Where are all the junkies? I keep saying it. We need more junkies in Karate Kid films.
I did not once see any one homeless person scooting their butt on the sidewalk like I did back in April.
It's true. It's true.
Pepper it up with a little bit of liveliness to you. We call that cinema verite there, Jonathan.
In fairness, we were on 42nd Street, Silas. This is not the classy part where they're at.
So can we tackle the elephant in the room here?
Please.
What did he do?
So, I don't know anything about Ralph Macchio's people. I haven't read his book. I haven't listened to his book. There's got to be somebody in his camp that's like, Ralph, you're not fooling anyone. It's time to let go.
Either invest in plugs or own it.
Because it's so bad. And to make it worse, you've got it colored in a way that no person's hair is actually colored.
Hey, Arnold Schwarzenegger's hair has been colored that exact same way since 1994.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about here.
I've got a theory here. After the original Karate Kid movie, he got to keep that yellow convertible. And that's why it's still in Cobra Kai. That's why it's in this movie, because Ralph Macchio has owned that vehicle since he was a wee lad of 27 years old when he made the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think when he showed up for the first day on Cobra Kai, they gave him that wig and they said, you know what? You can just keep it. Nobody else is going to use that. So he's actually using the Cobra Kai wig, which was a TV wig and a movie wig. I mean, there's standards that are different in my opinion. And he's wearing his TV wig in this movie.
It's so bad. It's distracting, man.
I like it. I still, man, as many negative things as one could fairly say about Ralph Macchio, he still makes me happy. He makes me happy when he's on screen, when he shows up. I love that his voice hasn't changed in 35 years.
When he shows up in this movie, it is a welcome sight for sure. I was surprised that I was so like, oh, hot damn, we're in it now. Here's Daniel. Like I was surprised by my reaction. I'll be honest.
And I like the scene, where they're both trying to train him at the same time. And it's in Kung Fu, we do it like this. In karate, I like how he can't say karate. He has to say karate every time.
Have you seen Boogie Nights?
Karate.
You got to say it right, otherwise we're gonna make fun of you.
But my practical advice for any young people out there who are listening, if you ever get simultaneous martial arts advice from Jackie Chan, Hong Kong cinema legend, and Ralph Macchio, just listen to the Asian guy, okay?
I mean, what with his few movie credits and stuff like that, he's probably got a little bit of a track record.
I really liked the part where they were both just beating his ass, like absolutely going crazy on Lee for a little bit. And he was just like, okay, stop.
Again, that was like there's little tiny bits like that were like very Hong Kong movies, and I love stuff like that where it's they're getting together and they're whooping this kid's ass. That there's fun in that, and this kid sells it really well. And again, like I said, I think he's one of the big reasons this movie works as well as it does.
I like what he said. My hip, it just made a funny noise. I'm not sure it's supposed to do that.
Honestly, I feel like that was just an outtake they decided to keep in.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Sending me.
And I did like surprisingly, I did not expect there to be any chemistry between Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan. I just didn't. They're so different. They haven't worked together before that I'm aware of. But I liked it. When Jackie Chan shows up at his house in California, conveniently Netflix let them use that set. It felt natural. It felt right. When they're both trying to train, it really did feel like the poor kid's trying to play baseball and his grandpa's saying you do it this way and his dad's saying you do it that way. And the kid's like, okay, how about just quit beating me in the head with the ball and let's just figure out how I need to hold this bat.
Yeah, Cobra Kai, like all that stuff, all of it owned by Sony, so it's all a Sony product and everything. So thankfully they can just kind of pick and steal as they like and whatnot. I thought it was like ultimately it was pretty good. There was enough Macchio to what you wanted it to be without being too much. I did like how Jackie was kind of more the bigger focus point of this, him and the kid, and it makes a little bit more sense. Yeah, because you certainly should be.
You have Macchio to bring in the dads and the grandpas at this point. You have Macchio to give it legitimacy, but this was
and the Karate Kid portion of it and everything. But I'll say this, having listened to Macchio's book, hearing everything, I think that he went through the obvious, kind of waves that you would imagine that somebody who went through that did. When he got it, it was just like he had not been in much of anything. But once that did, it just launched him into the stratosphere. Then, of course, he got jaded about it and didn't really, like hearing the name too much and all that kind of good stuff. But eventually ended up coming around. And Zapka, even before all of the Cobra Kai stuff and everything back in the early days when they were just doing like conventions and stuff, and Zapka would kind of talk to him and get him to like almost kind of appreciate like, hey man, like listen, this might be who we are, but it's also who we are and what we've done to kind of help other people. And he's kind of branched out, and like I think Macchio to this day realizes like who he is, what this role is, and I do think that he knows his kind of limitations at this point. At least it sounds like he does. Within the book and stuff, and goes, hey, listen, this may be the thing that I kind of go down for the rest of my life and everything. But you know what? I'm really proud of what we've done, the amount of people that we've reached with it, the stories that I've heard from folks about how, the original Karate Kid movie, got them either into like martial arts or like spoke to them about like bullying and stuff like that. And he tells a couple of interesting stories in it and stuff of like just people that he's contacted with. And like, I think the role has really, kind of worked its way into his heart and life in like a good positive way at this point and everything. But I don't think it doesn't feel at least like he wants to continue to, grasp onto this. I feel like this was obviously, like you said, that portion where we're trying to kind of hit that one little hurdle there and go into the next kind of round, as it were. But I don't feel like he's clamoring for that or making him think that like I'm going to, get back into this acting game and really, rustle up some, big numbers or something like that. I don't think he thinks that.
I think that I've never put this together before this show right now, but Ralph Macchio is basically this version, the newer version of Leonard Nimoy, because Leonard Nimoy hated that he was Spock for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was okay with it. And then he kind of like leaned into the role. And I think that that's kind of what happened with Ralph Macchio as well. Like, I think that probably when you are, in his case, he's probably 33 years old and there's people at the mall trying to crane kick him. He probably doesn't want to be the Karate Kid in that moment.
Yeah.
But now that he's 85 years old, he's like, it's okay that I'm Danny LaRusso now. And that's great. Like we've come full circle. And it was the same thing with Leonard Nimoy too, with Spock. I can remember seeing him like kind of half drunk on a talk show one time, like a late night talk show one time, saying how you have no idea what it's like when all people know you as is this one thing.
Yeah, it's got to be rough.
Yeah.
But some of the happiest people are the ones who embrace it and know
Yeah.
that you'll never have to be worried about where your next paycheck's coming
Right.
from if you do.
Right.
And it certainly it feels like Zabka was that guy that was just kind of like, listen, this is my thing, but like I know well enough to kind of sail with what I got.
The Jerky Boys don't complain about being known as the prank call guys.
No, like one of them,
who's asking?
One of them parlays it into a regular voice cast on Family Guy, so that's something, So those guys can at least one of them.
That's true. That is
wish
true.
I could be a regular voice cast on Family Guy.
Man, you'd be a millionaire just from that alone. Never mind anything else you're working on.
I guess what was it, Kumal? I guess he was, maybe he was a jerk or something, because you don't hear him doing nothing anymore these days. Maybe he was a jerkwad. I used to say, well, he was a jerky boy, so I guess he's halfway there at least.
Yeah, it's right there.
Still paying off his phone bill.
Well, before we get to our final reviews and recommendations here and everything, if you had to recast this Ralph Macchio role, who do you got? I got an easy one, I think. It changes the dynamic of the movie, but like probably in a good way. But you couldn't do it for the first one, and Sean has kind of touched it that they'll more likely do that in any planned sequels that they might have. But Zabka,
yes, it's Zabka.
put Zabka in this role, and it'd be great. And like
it would be better. It would be a better movie.
But
Zabka,
you kind of can't, but like you will be able to in the next one. You've left the door wide friggin' open.
Is Cobra Kai done as a TV show? Like for some reason, I feel like
I believe that it is. Yeah.
Season. So that end credit scene has me a little worried that they're going to try to do a pizza place sitcom. Like I'm worried that joke. Somebody's going to say, "Hey, we did so well with our last streaming show. Let's do Miyagi-Do." Like, man, I think that there's going to be some people who try to make that happen.
I think that lesser writers, and there will be lesser writers on the next one, if there is a next one, will definitely be doing that sort of joke. The other part to this too, because I just looked it up, because I kept forgetting to look this up, is that the thing that I know about Cobra Kai is that because Will Smith and his production company kind of like had the rights for the Karate Kid so that he could put his kid in the movie, whatever that is now, 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
His production company is affiliated with Cobra Kai. And so I was wondering if Will Smith's mitts are in this too as a producer, and he is not. He's nowhere is he listed as anywhere on this thing, which means we're not going to have to watch Jaden Smith show up at some point.
Oh man, he would be the
think
worst option for the Mr. Miyagi role.
And that's my
for the Mr. Miyagi role.
That's my biggest fear with this, is that because, the next one, you're going to have Billy. It's what happened with Cobra Kai, right? Like the first 2 seasons of Cobra Kai are great, but then you get into the 3rd season, 4th season, 5th season of that show, and then like the bad guy from Japan shows up, and then the guy who owned the dojo in the 3rd movie shows up, and like if in an effort to keep generating interest, they will pull from all these places, and eventually someone is going to want to pull Jaden Smith into this thing, and I will not be there for that one.
I'd rather him go with Hilary Swank.
Agreed, as they should, but they're never going to do that because she'll never take it.
I mean, she hasn't worked in a while. Does she still work, or is she doing stuff and I just don't know about it?
Yeah, you just don't know the stuff she's doing, dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not as high profile as Karate Kid Legend.
Is she married to a rich guy? Is she also one of those that like secretly is also kind of, I can't remember.
Is she still married to Chad Lowe, I guess? I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know the answer to that either.
I did find out that Rob Lowe's been married as long as he has. Rob Lowe's book, finish that up this week. Real good. Recommendation on that one.
Talk about his sister-in-law much?
No, not at all, actually, as a matter of fact.
She was the original choice for Leslie Knope, Sean, Hilary Swank.
That would not have worked. That would not have been as good.
Yeah, she's in a bunch of stuff, man. Like she's in Yellow Jackets. She's in
The
Good Mother, Ordinary Angel. She's got 4 different projects coming up.
She getting that TV money, son.
She been doing it.
I'm looking forward to your end of the podcast questions on this one, Adam.
Oh, what do you mean?
when you ask if anybody else could play the
Oh,
role.
we're in that moment. What are you talking about? Have at.
Could anybody else have played Danielson?
That's what we've just been talking about.
That's what we just said. Yeah.
Well, but I like the whole idea that no, it's not. We're not talking about bringing in Zabka to play Johnny. It's like we went to California and we got Sensei LaRusso, and then in walks Benjamin Bratt since he's been taken over.
In walks Steve Zahn.
In walks Tom Holland.
But is there a Ralph Macchio type other than Ralph Macchio? I don't think there
A
is.
swarthy Long Island accent, sort of
Adam
nerdy. Carolla's probably the closest, but his accent isn't Long Island. Weirdly, he sounds like he's vaguely from New York, but like he's not.
Lifelong Southern California.
Yeah.
Who knows? We've kind of replaced some stuff. We didn't talk to Bruce about this here, but Sean, 5-star system here. What are we rating? The Karate Kid Legends. I have to look at the name again because it's so
This
good.
is a mediocre movie at its best. If this did not have the Karate Kid name on it, I would forget that I'd ever seen this movie. This is a 2.5-er all day long.
Bruce,
I enjoyed the film. Now, I know it's not a great film, but I liked it. I had fun. But I know it's not great. So I'm going to give it 3.5 crane kicks.
Silas?
I didn't really think this movie was that great. It was really fast paced, and I couldn't tell if it took place over months or days. But otherwise, the action was pretty good, thanks to the talents working it. So I'm gonna give it 2.5.
For me, I'm going to a solid 3 out of 5. It's just okay. There's enough to recommend it, but there's so many cheap little things in it for a Sony project. Again, that you have access to the entire Sony music catalog and everything. Your needle drops are ass. They're really terrible. Save for like a Beastie Boys and like one other song or something. Most of the other needle drops, awful. And the actual music itself within the thing, also terrible. There's nothing to recommend the music on this. The cinematography is pretty TV looking, as well as, the lighting and stuff like that. There's so many things that are just like, gosh, if you just added 10% more here, and here, this movie would just be astronomically better. But like they just don't have all the dials right in and everything. So, which is a shame, because this movie, as decent as it is, could have been a whole heck of a lot better. It just need a little bit more time in the oven, and perhaps the hand of people that are a little bit more adept to shooting martial arts for the most part.
It feels like a movie that was made to be exclusively streaming, not in theaters.
Yes, that is what it feels like.
Yeah, if this came out on Netflix, you'd be like, oh, wildly serviceable and everything. But the fact that it goes
much better
to a
than
theater,
Jupiter's Legacy.
Yeah. Well, you don't got to go too far there. But yeah, so I mean, I guess we would call that light recommendations on this. But there's no reason to really roll out and see it. But I think the idea of kind of moving on and having like, Jackie in that kind of uncle role, and then Zabka in the new one, just kind of, because he's the character's more fun. Character's more fun than Daniel. It just is what it is.
There's no trouble getting Zabka to do it. I don't know if Jackie Chan or the lead. I think the lead's young enough that it'd be okay. But if they made just direct to streaming sequels, I think that would be okay. But I would like to see this legacy continue.
I want to see somebody get this kid and do something with him, because, like, again, I think that he has enough of a presence, enough of a little personality, and like I think he's good enough at the martial arts and stuff. I think with the right thing and the right kind of promotion behind him and everything, this kid could be something.
I think this movie could have fared a lot better as a TV series, because, like I mentioned before, the main character, he was a TV actor in an American-born Chinese, which is a very similar show, and it just really needed a lot more time to tell the story in order for it to be good.
And Joshua Jackson and the female lead, they're both TV actors. Ming-Na Wen, primarily a TV actor, so yeah.
A fight a week, that would be totally great.
Yeah, and the director's a TV guy as well, so it only makes sense.
And in Cobra Kai's ending, like, this is the last season of that show, so if this is the way they move on, this is the way they move on, and I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, Drop us a couple of movies and stuff, and like maybe we don't always need long ass series and everything. Everybody,
Yeah.
we got enough television as it is, and it's kind of dying. So maybe we can get back to 2 hours, and then we're off to lunch afterwards.
I like that.
And we're not off next week, everybody, because it is on yet again. And our folks over at patreon.com/HMP have been voting, and boy, oh boy, have they been voting away. So much so that the race is too tight to call right now. So tied up for second place, we have genre Meryl Streep movies and Burt Reynolds drives. Those are both locking in at 17%. But out front, we have a tie as well for first place with Brian Cox and Eddie Murphy. Talk about a wild, vast variety with which to choose from here. Those are your top four right now. So if you head on over to patreon.com/HMP, join up at any level, and you can get in there. So like Marty says, it's Coxy for me. Got to see some of the oldest X-Men. We would not be watching X-Men. I can tell you that right now, Marty.
Yeah, we're not going to retread stuff that we didn't like covering the first time.
No, sirree, Bob. Ross says jumped on the Brian Cox. He's my favorite physicist. He says. Noah says got to go with Joan Cusack on this one because of the off the wall movies that she's been in. So many treasures there. To which Tim replied that Addams Family Values would be a lot of fun. Certainly a good one on the list there. Justin says, I want genre Meryl Streep to see what you guys get a little bit closer to your roots. I like that one. Larry said, I voted for Burt Reynolds in the hope for Smokey and the Bandit. That wouldn't necessarily be a bad choice there, of course. Of which Larry, let's see, and then John Bajusi said, I voted for Brian Cox because that means that there's a chance that you guys might do Super Troopers.
if Burt Reynolds wins, you get a big plus because every week I'll say I don't want him, but I need him, and his name is Hal.
Mm-hmm. So go over to patreon.com/HMP. Get all of those fun things you name at the end of the Patreon video over there on the YouTubes and all that kind of good stuff, and vote on the things that we watch so you can go like, hey, man, I voted for that and stuff. So appreciate that. Patreon.com/HMP. Bruce and Silas, you guys want to plug anything? You're on the road?
Hey, we got Be More Chill coming up in Raceland, Kentucky, right? You want to tell them about your show?
Yeah, Be More Chill. It's a more recent musical, even though it's already 10 years old. It's about just some nerds, and they're going through the normal high school stuff, and then they find this thing called a squip, and that changes everything. And I'm just going to leave you with that.
And who's the lead in this?
Me, of course.
Gets it from his dad, everybody. You knew that. Sean, what else?
Don't worry about me. I got nothing going on.
He ain't got nothing, so you might as well go ahead and forget it and head on over to our YouTube page there and everything. We got live shows and stuff going this week and stuff, so I want to hear from you folks as well. So head on out to the YouTubes there, like, subscribe, and all that kind of good stuff. That'll do it for this episode of HMP. Join us next week for our June Patreon selection for Sweet Sean, the Kovacs from the internet. Bruce, Leslie, and Silas, I'm Adam Porcher. Might need to go out there and watch some movies, you dirty babies.